Hello everyone, it's Martha here with you. We are going to be creating this beautiful advent calendar book. I've wanted to make an advent calendar in an album for a few years now because I just think it's such a great way to display it. I feel like this is a little bit more of a grown-up version of an advent calendar because you can put gift cards in here, and we'll get all to that when we get inside. So it's a nice large album. It is almost 8 by 8. Super pretty. I used the Christmas Hodgepodge paper from La La Land Crafts and a little bit of the Merry & Bright paper collection. So on the front here we have this beautiful like forest scene with these cute little deer, and they're just kind of frolicking in the woods. I will have all of these dies linked below. We have the Merry die, we have the pennants, the trees, the snowflake border edge, the cute little deer. So this whole section actually lifts off of the album. It is magnetically attached to the front so that you're able to use all of these pockets to add in, you know, photos of your Christmas. You can even add a large photo back here and the magnet will still work. So it's functional, but then this whole thing just pops right back on for, you know, decorative purposes. All right, so let's go inside. So inside here you have 4 full advent pages to add all of your, you know, fun goodies. So each of these pages has 6 little envelopes, and they come off just like this. And then inside each envelope, we have a little piece of paper. So now in this case, you could write, go sledding, go ice fishing, watch a holiday movie, whatever you'd like, or you could put a gift card in these, okay? So I think it's a super fun type of an advent calendar. And then this just slides right back under here and it closes up just like this. So all of these are the same. And then on the back of all of my advent pages, we have a pocket that has a large 5x7, or that will fit 5x7 photos insert. You can fit so many more inserts. You could easily fit 2 or 3 inserts plus more smaller ones, whatever you'd like to do with that. And then we have another advent page. And then we have another pocket page right here. Then another advent page. And a pocket page. And another advent page. And then the final page at the back has a pocket. And then I left the inside, front, and back just blank. Because first of all, I don't want anything kind of interrupting with my envelopes. I don't want them like rubbing on anything. But also I wanted this just to be a really nice large photo space or journaling space, whatever you'd like to do with that. So that is the album. Let's get to making it, you guys. All right, guys, let's first get started by creating the cover for our Advent album, okay? So what you're gonna need is 2 pieces of chipboard. So this is just lightweight chipboard that measures 8 1/4 this way by 8 1/2 this way. So 8 1/4 by 8 1/2, and you're gonna need 2 of them, okay? And then you're going to need one that's 2 1/2 by 8 1/2, okay? Then what we're gonna do is I have 3 pieces of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock here. Now, if you have 12 by 12, you can use that, and then you'll only need 2 pieces. I don't have any 12 by 12 white cardstock right now, the lightweight white, so I am using 8 1/2 by 11, okay? So what I did is along 2 of my pieces, I added 3/8 of an inch score tape along one of the 11-inch edges. You don't have to use 3/8, you can use a 1/4 inch, but again, I had the 3/8, so that's what I'm using. So I'm gonna go ahead and just attach all 3 of these together. So I am going to remove a bit of my backing of one of these over here. So this is 3 sheets of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock, and it's just lightweight white cardstock. So I like to start by just removing a little bit of my tape, lining it up, and then I remove the rest of my tape. Just like this, okay? So that's one. So you can fold and burnish it. All right, then we'll do the other one over here. So again, I'm just going to remove a bit of my backing. And I'm going to line it up down here. Make sure it's lined up all the way up here. And then press down so it takes here. And then just remove the rest of it, okay? And then that'll go right where it should. All right, so now I've got one big long piece of my cardstock. I know it doesn't all fit in the camera, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my spine piece in the center of all of this, or let me see. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up all of my chipboard pieces more to this side, okay? So we can save this little bit of cardstock over here. So what I'm going to do first is with one of my 8.5 by 8 1/4 pieces. Now make sure that the 8 1/2 is going this way and the 8 1/4 is going this way, okay? So I'm going to add my glue. So I'm just using my Fabri-Tac. You can certainly use any glue you like. I like my Fabri-Tac when I'm working with lightweight cardstock because I find the water-based glues, I can see the bubbling through it. So I'm just going to place this in here so there is about an inch on these, well, I guess these two sides. We'll be having to cut off a bit off of this one over here. And I'm going to move it in a little bit more than an inch on this side because I want it to be over the little part where we attach the two papers. I want it to be over that more than an inch. Okay, so I'm going to move it in a little bit so that it's about like this, okay? And kind of make sure it's straight. Then I'm going to take my spine piece and I'm going to get my glue onto the back of my spine piece. And I'm going to attach it next to this piece here, but I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch of space between them, okay? So about 1/8 of an inch of space is what I'm leaving between these two. You don't want to go all the way up to it. All right, so then we'll do this last one here, and again, I'm going to attach it, leaving about 1/8 of an inch of space, and make sure the 8 1/2 is going this way and the 8 1/4 is going that way. All right, so I'm just going to use my glue for this again. Just like so. All right, and then just leave it, attach it, leaving about that 1/8 of an inch space, okay? All right, so now we can go ahead and cut off this excess over here. So I'm going to cut off about about 1 inch away from here, I'm going to cut off. Okay, so about 1 inch. That's all you need. All right, and then I'm going to cut off down here as well because there's more than what we need. It's about 1 inch. All the way across. Doesn't have to be super neat or anything. All right, so that looks really good. So now what we need to do is fold and burnish all of our cardstock over top of our chipboard. So I like to just start slowly. I usually start on the long side. And what I do is I just slowly bring up my edges so that it kind of slowly breaks the fiber of the cardstock so that it all folds over nicely, okay? So we're just gonna do that all the way around. So again, just bring it up slowly. Make sure you're bringing it up right against your chipboard. Just like so. and then you can go with the bone folder. If you go with the bone folder right away, you are risking it cracking, and we don't want that. All right, so then I'll do the 2 shorter sides, just like this. This is a big piece to work with. I'm not sure I've ever done an album this big. All right, so then flatten it all back out. And then we're gonna do what we always do. We're gonna cut across our corners, but you're gonna leave about 1/8 of an inch of space between your chipboard and your cardstock. And I'm gonna show you how much space. It's about 1/8 of an inch, okay? So when we do this to reduce bulk, it just, you know, it makes it look a lot nicer when you wrap it, when we take these edges off, or the corners, I should say. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of my score tape and I'm going to put it along my edges. So I'm going to put it along all the edges of the chipboard and all the edges of the cardstock. Now that you've got the tape on, you can go ahead and burnish, and you can use 1/2 inch tape for this. You don't have to use 3/8. That works perfectly fine. All right, just like this. Okay, so I'm going to start with one of my long sides. So I have to take off these 2 short sides of tape just on the chipboard for now. And then I have to take off my 2 long sides over here. Okay, so start in the middle, bring it up. All right, and then you can just burnish that all down. Then we'll go to the other side. All right, so I'll remove this bit of my tape here and this here. All right, and then just bring it up in the middle and then just smooth it out to both sides. And then I like to just go in here a little bit. All right, and then we'll just do our side ones. So take that off. And then just bring down our sides. And same thing over here. Just take that off. And then just bring that side in, just like that. All right, so then you can go in and kind of crease these in here. All right, so the next thing we need to do is add a little piece here to strengthen and hide our spine. All right, so this piece of lightweight white measures 5.5 by 8.25. Okay, and it's lightweight white. And I've already added score tape to the back of it. So now I'm going to take some more score tape and I'm going to put some on either side of my spine here. But I'm not going to go all the way to the top or the bottom. I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch, top and bottom. So you're going to want to do that to both sides of your spine piece. So just about like that. All right, and then I'm going to burnish it. Make sure it gets adhered really well, and then I'm also going to burnish the back that I attached it to. All right, so now we can go ahead and remove all of our score tape backings. All right, so now what you need to do, first of all, make sure you don't have any tape sticking over anywhere. Now what you need to do is place this down, and what we're going to try to do is make sure you get an even amount on both sides of your spine of your cardstock. So you want about 1.5 inches on both sides, and then make sure that you leave your space top and bottom. All right, and then we can go ahead and burnish that. So you're going to want to burnish it really, really, really well. Just like so. Make sure it's all burnished down. Then what we can do is just kind of slowly lift our cover and crease that. Okay, on both sides. So just slowly lift the cover and crease it. And then I kind of like to give it a little bend this way and a little bend this way. All right, so for these two sides here, I have 2 pieces of my heavyweight cardstock because I want to use heavy to reinforce it a little bit because we use lightweight chipboard. So these measure 8 by 8.25, and they're going to go right here on both sides of my spine just to finish off the inside nicely. Okay, so I'm going to grab my Fabri-Tac, and I'm just going to attach these on here. So 8 by 8.25. All right, and then that creates our cover all nicely wrapped and ready for our pages. All right, guys, let's work on our pages. Okay, so these are the pages that our little advent envelopes are going to be attached on. So you are going to need 4 pieces of heavy white cardstock that measure 8.5 by 8.25. And on the 8.5 side, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, okay? So you're going to do that for 4 pieces. So 8.5 by 8.25, and on the 8.5 side, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, okay? Then what you need to do is get your ruler, and from the top down, so fold over your score line, okay, for now. From the top down, now this is the 8.25 length. From the top down, you're going to mark at 3/8 of an inch on this side, and you're going to mark down 3/8 of an inch on this side, okay? Then you're going to do the same thing from the bottom up, mark at 3/8 of an inch, and mark at 3/8 of an inch. And you're going to do that for all 4 of your pieces, okay? So next what you need is 12 pieces of your heavy cardstock that measure 2 3/8 by 9. And on the 9-inch side, you're going to score at half and at 8 1/2. And you're going to do that for all 12 of your pieces, okay? So we can go ahead and fold and burnish these. So each page is going to get 3 of these strips, okay? So you need to have enough for each page to have 3 strips. That's why you need 12. Okay, just like this. All right, so now I'm going to get one of my pages in and 3 of my strips. All right, so I have my page and I have my 3 strips. So what's going to happen is my strips are going to attach to my page so that the top of my strip here lines up with that 3/8 inch mark on both sides, okay? So I'm going to do the top one first, then I'm going to do the bottom one and make sure it lines up with those marks. Then we'll just kind of center the other one in between those two, okay? So I'm going to start with the top one. I'm going to add my arc glitter glue and I'm just going to go ahead and add it to both sides, both of my little 1/2 inch flaps, okay? Then grab it and just lay it down so it lines up with the top of those 3/8 marks you made, okay? Make sure you don't go over your score line on this side. Always attach it as far out as you can. So that's our first strip and we can burnish that. All right, so the second one we're going to attach at the bottom. So add your glue to your little 1/2 inch sections. And align it so that the bottom of it aligns with those 3/8 marks, okay? Just like this. And then you can burnish it. All right, and then our third one is just gonna get centered between these two, okay? So you'll have about a 1/4 inch between them, okay? So add your glue to your little flaps and just center it between those two. Like I said, you'll have about a 1/4 of an inch between them. Just like this, okay? And then you can burnish that. All right, so that is one of our pages with 3 of our little strips. So I'm gonna do the other 3 now. Now we have got all 4 of our little slat pages completed. So now for the back of all of our slot pages, we're going to have a pocket. Okay, so our piece of heavy cardstock measures 9 by 4 1/4, and on the 9-inch side you're going to score 1/2 and 8 1/2, and then on the 4 1/4 side you're going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay, so you're going to need to do that for 4 pieces. All right, and we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish on our score lines, just like so on all 3 of our score lines. All right, now you're going to grab your scissor, and where you have done your scoring, you've created this little square in the corners. We need to just cut across and cut that away, and you're going to cut right below where your 2 score lines intersect. Okay, so do that for all 4 of your pieces. So we've got all 4 of our pocket pieces done. So grab any one of your insert pieces or your slat pieces, and we're going to turn it to the back. So now your little 1/2 inch hinge is on this side, and we are just going to attach these to our pages. So I always like to re-burnish from the top like this. I find this gives me the best results. So burnish it from the top, and now I'm just gonna add glue just to my long bottom flap first. Okay, so just this long bottom flap. Get your page in and attach it all the way to the outside corner, so not the corner closest to your hinge, all the way to the outside corner and all the way to the bottom. Okay, just like this. Then we can burnish this. All right, then you can lift that up, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a piece of tape, just some Scotch tape or wrapping tape, whatever you call it, and I'm gonna put it across this hinge on the bottom here, just so that our insert doesn't stick when we're putting it in. Now we'll add glue to these sections here, these little 1/2 inch flaps, and then just bring that up just like that. Okay, and then you can burnish on both sides. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and attach my other 3 pockets the same way. All right, so now that we have all of our slats on and all of our pockets on the back, let's go ahead and attach our pages into the book. So what I've done is on all of my hinges, my 1/2-inch hinges, I have attached a piece of 3/8 score tape. So then we can go ahead and burnish all of our hinges down, okay? So burnish all of them. And you can use just glue if you want for this, but for me this time, these are large pages, so I wanted to use actually a combination of glue and tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the back here, and I'm basically going to attach my first page right along where my book bends, okay, right along where our book bends. So it's going to go right along here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add a little bit of glue in that whole section all the way up, okay? It doesn't have to be the full 1/2-inch, just a little bit. Then I'm going to take my page and I'm going to make sure my pocket is at the bottom, okay? Important. I'm going to remove some of my backing and I'm going to lay it down right on top where my glue was. Try not to touch at the bottom. And make sure you don't go over where it bends. Okay, then you can press down at the top and remove the rest of your backing. All right, so that is our first page attached into the book. So the next one's just going to go right alongside it. So I'm just going to again put a tiny bit of glue right here, and I'm just using my art glitter glue for this. And this is just because the combination of glue and tape is just stronger. So I'm going to remove a bit of my backing. All right, I'm going to lay it down right next to it. Again, trying not to touch at the bottom because we haven't actually removed the tape from that, or the backing, I should say. Remove your backing and then just lay it right next down to the previous page, okay? Just like this. All right, then we'll do the next one. So we just add a little bit of glue right here, right along the hinge, or I should say the previous hinge. Okay, then I'm going to grab my next page, remove some of the backing, and line it up at the top. Make sure it lines up nicely. Press down and then just remove the rest of your backing, just like this. All right, and then we'll attach the final one in the front here. So put your glue next to your hinge, the previous hinge, I should say. All right, remove a bit of that backing. Lay it down next to it. And then we'll remove the rest of our backing. All right, so that is our last page attached. So now they are all attached into our cute little Advent book. So let's get to decorating this. Okay guys, so let's work on our front cover. So when you're decorating it, make sure that when you're decorating your front cover that your pockets are on the bottom, okay? Because it's kind of hard to tell right now still, right? So for the first panel, you're going to need a piece of your Kraft Cardstock. So this is heavy craft, that's 8 by 8 1/4. Then you're going to need a piece of red cardstock that's 7 3/4 by 8. Then you're going to need a piece of white cardstock that's 7 1/2 by 7 3/4. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue these all together. Kraft Cardstock and the right pocket die twice out of Kraft Cardstock, okay? So what I'm going to do is on all 4 of them, I'm going to cut this little tab right here off, okay? So this tab is just going to get cut right off of here on all 4 of them, no matter if it's the left or the right. So now what I need to do is fold and burnish all of these little score lines, okay? And my machine has no issue, like my die cutting machine. I do not need to rescore these when I go, like after I cut them, because it puts the score lines in for you. But if you find that yours are, you know, harder to see or anything like that, then you can go ahead and just reinforce those score lines in your scoreboard, okay? So just fold and burnish all of these. Just like so, okay? All right, so now what I need to do is on all 4 corners, so let's place them all on here so I can kind of show you what I'm doing. These are going to get glued on all 4 corners, but I need to do this before I glue this onto my book. Otherwise, I won't be able to get this whole panel in there. So they're going to get glued like this, but we're going to have to do it from the back, okay? So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put one on every corner and just put them on however they fit. We're just basically gluing them on from the back versus trying to do it from the front right now. That's all we're doing, okay? So just bring them nice and close to the edges. Like they should fit all the way to the corner on the back of our large panel that we just created. So just put them right into the corner so that these fold over nicely. Then you can fold them back. And I'm going to use my art glitter glue for this. And I'm just going to put it on both my panels at the same time, or my little flappies. And then just make sure it comes in nicely back here. Just like this, and you'll glue all 4 corners the same way. What it should look like with all of your corners glued on. So that's what the look that you should have from the front as well. Our pockets, our left and right pocket dies come with layers to go on them. So I've cut the 4 layers from some pretty weathered wood paper that came with that comes in the Merry and Bright collection. So it's just this one right here. So I'm just going to glue those little layers on, and I'm just going to use my art glitter glue. All right, then for our little panel that's going to go in this kind of pocket structure, you need a piece of your Kraft Cardstock that's 6.5 by 6.5. Then you need a piece of your silver cardstock that's 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, and then you need a piece of your pattern paper that's 6 by 6. And this one is from the Christmas Hodgepodge collection. So it's this one right here. So this pattern paper is from this collection. So I'm just going to glue these all together, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue to glue my pattern paper to the silver cardstock, just because it's better for adhering to silver than my Fabri-Tac. And then I'm just going to glue the other panel together as well. So for this one, I will just use my Fabri-Tac and just get a nice even layer on there. And just glue them together. Just like that. So I want this whole panel to be removable so that we're able to tuck photos and little memorabilia and things like that all in the front of our covers. So that's why we have our nice open pockets. But I want this to just kind of be able to come off, okay? So what I've got is I've got some magnets here. So these are some bigger magnets. It doesn't have to be these big ones. These actually have the adhesive on the back of them. So these ones already have the adhesive on the back of them. I'll link these below if you guys want to check these out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of them and place it right here where I want it, just like this. And then I'm going to pop the other one on top, and I'm going to remove the backing from this one, and then I'm going to place my panel right where I want it, nice and evenly into all my corners, and then I'm just gonna kind of jiggle this. So now we can take this off and tuck our photos and everything in the back here, but then this just pops right back on, just like that. All right, and then you can either choose to leave your magnet exposed, which I don't think is an issue, but if you don't like to see that, what I've done is I have cut a silver snowflake from the largest of the 3 snowflake dies. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of score tape. So this is just the 3/8 score tape. And I'm going to put it on my magnet and remove the backing from it. Just like this. And then I'm going to take my snowflake and just center it right on the magnet so that it kind of makes a cute little look there. And then for the back of my panel here, I've just cut a piece of white cardstock that is 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, and I'm just going to glue it onto the back. So if you have smaller magnets, you might want to choose to leave yours exposed because it might not have as good of a pull if you cover it with paper. So that's totally up to you. Again, I don't mind the look of the exposed magnet, but I'm just giving you guys some options here. So then that is just going to pop right back on there. All right, so now let's add on all of our pretty die cuts. So the first thing I'm going to add is the trees die that I cut from white cardstock. So this is the die here. And I'm just going to use my art glitter glue and put it on my panel flat. So just get your glue all over it. Even into these bits up here. These bits kind of remind me of antlers too, so I love that. All right, and I'm gonna place it about right here on my panel, just like this. All right, so then I have cut the snowflake edge border die. So it's just this one here. I used a 6-inch wide piece of cardstock, and it was about 2.5 inches tall. And then I just used this to cut my design, and then I just had to continue it a tiny bit on this side. So that's gonna go right down here at the bottom. So I have popped it up on some foam tape back here. And it's just gonna go right across my bottom, just on the card or on the pattern paper, not on the silver. So it should fit perfectly all the way across. Let's take this off of here to work on it. All right, and now I have my deer dies. So these are the 2 deer die, and they're gonna go here. But what I've done is I've only popped up their little necks, because that's all that's gonna stick off of my white border here. So I'm gonna take that backing off, and I'm gonna add my glue. To the rest of their bodies. And I'm going to place this guy about right there, just like this. Make sure that everything glues down. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my other deer. I'm going to take the backing off and put my glue on there. Make sure to get at the bottom of their feet. And then this one's gonna go about right here, pretty close to the other one. All right, now I've cut the large stitched Pennants Die twice from pattern paper from the Merry and Bright collection. It's just this one right here. But what I'm gonna do with one of them, so this is the largest of the Pennants Die, is I'm just gonna cut about 3/4 of an inch off of one of them, and they're gonna get placed right up here in this corner, just like this. So I'm just gonna glue them on with my art glitter glue. So just get your glue on there. And they're just gonna go right here is gonna be my bigger one, the long one, the full length one. Then the one that I cut off a bit, I'm just gonna put right about there. All right, and then I've cut the Merry Word die from red cardstock, and I'm gonna put that kind of across the top here, just like this, kind of a little bit over the trees and over my banners. And I'm going to use my art glitter glue for that because it has a nice fine precision tip. Just try to get glue all over it because it has to go over a couple of our elements. So we want to make sure that it sticks well. So right about here is where I want it. Just like that. So you just want to make sure you get it nice and adhered down on top of all of those things. All right, so now what I want to do is just put a couple of little dots of glue under this guy's antlers here. Now that I've got all my elements on, because I didn't want anything to be on top of his antlers. And then I'm just going to kind of press those down. All right, so that is the little front panel created, and that is just going to pop right on the front panel of our album. So let's go ahead and attach this whole piece to our front cover. I'm just going to use my Fabri-Tac for that. So just get it nice and close to the corners, because it does have to go over those little hinges. And just get it all over there. And then just attach it. There really isn't a top or bottom to this piece, so it can go either way. I'm just going to open it up so I can press from this side. All right, and then our whole cute panel will just pop right on there. All right, guys, so the first thing I want to do inside the book is these back pages with the pockets. Because before I decorate these, I want to do these so we're not like pressing down on these sections with our cute little advent envelopes that we're going to make, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the little piece that's going to go up here across the top of the pockets, like the backing here. And I'm just going to use a piece of Kraft Cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 7 3/4. And I'm just going to use my Fabri-Tac for this, or beacon. And I'm just going to place it. It's basically going to mat this top section here. It's not going to go inside the pocket because we don't need it to, because we put that tape across the bottom here. So we're not going to have the issue of like our insert sticking, okay? All right, then for the pocket, the top of the pocket here, I'm going to do a piece of silver cardstock that measures 3 1/2 by 7 3/4. And again, I'm just going to use my Fabri-Tac to attach it. So it's just going to go right here, just like this. Just make sure it's nicely centered. Then I'm going to have 2 pieces of pattern paper, one that's 3 1/4 by 6, and it's going to go here, and one that's 3 1/4 by 1 1/4, and that's just going to go right here. So I am going to use my art glitter glue, because I use it whenever I'm attaching anything to silver cardstock. So just get it really close to the edges. And these papers, all the papers that I'm using for the pocket fronts are from the Christmas Hodgepodge collection. All right, and then just our 1 1/4 by 3 1/4 piece. It's gonna go right here. Just kind of leaving a nice even border all the way around that piece. All right, and then for our insert that's going to go in this pocket, I'm going to do a piece of red cardstock that's 5 1/2 by 7 1/2, and a piece of white that's 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. And I chose this size for the inserts because I want you to be able to put 5 by 7 photos on here, okay? And there's lots of room in this pocket. You could even do 2 inserts this size, even 3. But I am just going to do 1 for today. And it's going to go in here just like this, okay? And like I said, because we did that tape at the bottom, our insert slides in beautifully. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and do our other 3 pocket fronts exactly the same way. All right, so now that we have all of our pocket pages done, I want to go ahead and put some silver cardstock on all of our little slats, okay? So you are going to need 12 slats or 12 silver pieces for all your slats, and they measure 7 3/4 by 2 1/8, and they're just going to go on here. 12 slats that measure 2 1/8 by 7 3/4 is what you're going to need of your silver cardstock. And of course, you can use whatever color cardstock you want. I like the pop of the silver. So just glue them on. So just center them right into the panels, or into your slats, I should say. Just like this. Center them nicely in there. And then we'll do the last one for this page. and it'll go down here on this last one. All right, so now I'm just going to continue on and do my other 3 pages. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and work on all of our little advent envelopes. So the first thing you're going to need to do is from vellum cardstock, you're going to want to cut 24 of this section of the gift card envelope die. So 24 of this one, and then you're going to need to cut 48 of this one. So just go ahead and grab yourself a cup of tea or some coffee, binge watch some Netflix, and just cut them all at the same time. Then once you have them all cut, what you're going to want to do is take the smaller of the stitched slots die. So this is the smaller one. And I'm just going to show you on this side because I've already cut this one. What you're going to want to do is place it onto your envelope so that the edges here are just right below the stitching of your envelope, just like this, okay? Then you're going to just make sure that it's centered in between here, just like this. Then run it through the die cutting machine and it's going to come out and it's going to look just like this, okay? So do that for all 24 of this section of your envelope die, okay? So I did that for these 3 that I'm going to show you. So we're going to do 3 together, and then the other 21 I'm going to do off camera, okay? So first thing you need to do is grab the scoreboard. We're going to grab our scoreboard and we're going to just reinforce these score marks. All right, so hopefully you can see that. All right, so it does come with score marks, and depending on the thickness of your vellum, you might not need to score yours afterwards, but my vellum is pretty thin, so the score marks don't show up as well as I would like. So you're going to flip it to the underside. So flip it to the back and find your score marks and then just score. So you will be able to see the line from your score, and we're just reinforcing it. So we just reinforced it. All right, now let's do that to our other two that we're working on together as well. All right, so we reinforced all three of those score lines. Then you need, for these three, you're going to need 6 of the little side flaps. And like I said, again, depending on the thickness of your vellum, the pressure of your cutting machine, you might not need to reinforce these, but I'm going to. So just make sure you're doing it on the back, so not the pretty side, the back side, because that's the way it's going to be bending. And just find a line that they line up in and just reinforce that score. Okay, so I'm going to do that for all 6 that we're going to use. All right, so we can go ahead and put our scoreboard aside for now, since we have reinforced all of those. So now what we're gonna do is just fold on the score lines. So I'm gonna start with my larger pieces, and I'm not even gonna reinforce these with the bone folder because I don't wanna risk it cracking because I am working with vellum. So just pressing it with my fingers is more than sufficient. Just make sure that you're folding it on the right side, so not the back side. Make sure you're folding it towards the inside for all of these. And then this last one. And then just fold the other side as well. Just like this, okay? So your little pieces should look like this. Then for our side flaps, we'll just go ahead and fold down all of our little flaps. Just making sure they stay nice and straight as we're folding. All right, and again, I'm not reinforcing these with the bone folder. I'm just going to fold them by hand. So just fold over all of them. Like I said, for the 3 envelopes we're going to do together, you need 6. So they all just get folded over on their little score lines. Just like this, okay? So now what you're gonna need is some 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch tape. I suggest 1/8 of an inch. All right, and what I'm gonna do is just add my tape to all of these little flaps. Now, if you have the vellum adhesive, you can go ahead and use that. Honestly, I feel like you still see it regardless, and you don't even see it that much. It's the back of the envelope, so I'm not that concerned about it. But if you are and you have the vellum adhesive, or you know of an adhesive that, you know, doesn't show on vellum, then you feel free to use that. But I'll show you what this looks like when we put it on. You barely see it, so I'm not at all worried about it. All right, so we've got all 6 of our pieces. So let's grab one of our envelopes back in, or this section of it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing, and then these are just going to get placed right in between these two. So as you can see on the back, you can see the flap from the vellum, but you cannot discern, barely discern anyways, where that adhesive is. All right, and then same thing for this side. Just place it in between. All right, and we'll do the other two the same way. So just remove your backings. I do not at all suggest using wet glue here, just because vellum is not porous. So it would take forever for it to dry. And in the process, your pieces would move, and you know that wet glue would get places it's not supposed to be. So I would definitely not use wet glue for this. All right, and then we'll put our last one here together. And then this one. So like I said, I would definitely die cut everything and then sit down and put together all your envelopes and then go from there. All right, so now I have also cut 3 circles from red cardstock, and this is the 3rd smallest of the stitched circles, okay? So what I'm going to do with these is on the back of them, I'm going to grab some 1/2 inch score tape. I'm going to get a little piece like this, and I'm going to put it across the top of them, like as close to the top as you can get. So I'm going to cut 2 more, and you are going to need to cut 24 red circles, or whatever color you choose to do for your circles. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to place my envelope like this with my slot at the bottom and my top flap coming over that. Then I'm going to remove my backing of my tape, okay? And I'm going to slide my circle into the pocket so it's in about 1/4 of an inch, or into the slot I should say. So it's in about 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm just going to stick that top down. Okay, so that's going to be our little closure for our advent. So again, just close it so the top flap comes over it. Stick it so it's about 1/4 inch into your slot and close it. So one more time. Bring your bottom up first, then bring your top down. Put it so it's about 1/4 inch in, and just press it down, okay? So then what I did is I used the balloon numbers die set. So you have numbers 1 through 0. So I die cut enough of these. I just ran them through with silver cardstock so that I got, you know, however many 1s and however many 2s and however many 3s that I needed. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, since we're only doing 1, 2, and 3 together, I have 1, 2, and 3 here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this little balloon bottom off. So just with your scissor, just cut right across there and cut those off just like this, okay? So then next what we need to do is grab any one of your little envelopes and make sure your slot is down here, okay? And then I'm going to grab my 1 first, and I'm going to put glue on here, and I'm just using the art glitter glue, and I'm going to put it right in the center of my red circle here, okay? So that's my number 1. Then I'll do my number 2 and put it on top of here, just like that. And then the 3. Just like this. So now I'm gonna go ahead and create the other 21 and then I'll be right back. All right, so I went ahead and created the rest of them. So we have 1 through 24. So let's go ahead and attach these onto our pages now. Now that we have all of our little vellum envelopes made, let's go ahead and attach them onto our slats. So you're also going to need 24 pieces of white cardstock or a cardstock color of your choice that measures 3 3/8 by 2 1/8. And what we're going to do with these is I'm going to start at the bottom here. So I'm going to start with my number 6. You're going to open up your envelope and place it inside. So this is where you're going to write whatever your advent is for that day. You know, if it's like go sledding, put up the tree, bake cookies, you know, go to a movie, watch a Christmas movie, whatever it is, you can put that on here. And then you're going to tuck in the sides like this, and you're going to slip this whole thing behind here and then slide it over. And then you're just going to tuck your little circle into there. Okay, so the same thing with the number 5. Grab one of your 3 3/8 by 2 1/4 pieces of white cardstock, and this is a really fantastic way to use up any scraps you might have of your white cardstock or any color cardstock, I guess, that you can write on, because you don't need, you know, you don't need big pieces for it. So just put it in, and then you tuck in your sides and slip it right under the slats, and then make sure it goes over as much as it can, and then close it up. And then we'll do our number 3. So put your little piece in there, close it up, slide it under, bring it down and tuck it in, just like that. And then number 2, so put your little piece of paper in. And I do suggest starting from the bottom. I just feel like it's easier to get the envelopes in that way, but it's probably fine either way. And then finally, our number 1 will go under here, in here. And bring it under your slat, and then just tuck it in. So I've already gone ahead and done the rest of our numbers throughout the book. And I think it looks really, really pretty. And we still have room to tuck in, you know, more photos in our pockets. We still have lots of room in this book to put a lot of cute things in. All right, guys, let's go ahead and finish off the matting of our book. So for the spine back here, I have a silver piece that measures 2 1/4 by 7 3/4. And then I have a piece of my pattern paper that's 2 by 6. And then I have another piece that's 2 by 1 7/8. And I'm just going to glue these together, and I'm going to use my art glitter glue since I'm going on to the silver cardstock. So get nice and close to your edges, just like this. So that piece is gonna go right up here. And this one is from the Christmas Hodgepodge, and then this little piece is the same piece as this, and it's from the Merry and Bright. All right, and it's just gonna go right here, just like this. And then this whole piece is gonna go onto my spine. So I'm gonna use my Fabri-Tac just because it allows me a little bit more wiggle room. Just like this. So I was thinking as I was putting this together, like all the designs, this is a really, I feel like, elegant advent calendar. But if you wanted to make it, you know, more kid friendly, you could do, you know, like a fun scene on the front instead of the more elegant scene. And then you could also do fun colors for the envelopes instead of the vellum, right? And then for the back here, I have a piece of my Kraft Cardstock that's 7 3/4 by 8. And then I have a red layer that's 7 1/4 by 7 3/4. And I'm just gonna layer these together to finish off the back. I think this is almost an optional step if you don't want to put anything on the back, but I think it's nice because I do plan on standing this advent calendar up, just you know, amidst all of my other decorations, so I will be seeing the back, so I think I would probably want to do the back. All right, and then I'm just going to glue this whole panel onto the back of my book, just like this. Get your glue nice and close everywhere. And then just center it into the back. Just like that. And then for the inside, front and back cover, I kind of just want to leave it, I just want to leave it plain here. I don't want to put any pockets or embellishments because, first of all, I don't want anything to interrupt with my envelopes. I want whatever's here to stay flat. But the other reason is I want you to be able to put nice large photos on the inside, front, and back of your book. Because what I was thinking is, you know, you could put your day one, whatever, maybe even take a picture of what the kids got for day one of their advent, or whoever you're giving this to, and that could go in the front. So these pieces measure 7 3/4 by 8. If I didn't say 7 3/4 by 8. All right, and then we'll go back here and we'll do the same thing here, 7 3/4 by 8. So just get your glue on here. And again, you could use red. I don't know that I would use silver, but you could use red or white, or just leave it white even if you don't want to add anything. I just thought adding a nice matte would look nice if you're going to put photos on there. Just like that. And this is why I love my beacon glue, because I can move it around. All right, guys, so that finishes off the tutorial for this little advent. Like I said, we only put one mat in these pockets, but you can put so much more in there. They are, you know, like you can tell there's lots of room in there for lots of photos. I absolutely love this. I love that it can stand and be part of my decor, but then I can also, you know, use it as my advent. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I will link everything below that I used to La La Land Crafts, and yeah, I hope you guys